I have a lot of fond memories playing Plok as a kid. I wasn't very good at it. I maybe got just past the first island, but I'm remaking it to try and become a better game developer. I know there's a clear end goal when you're remaking something, so I think this is what I need right now, instead of doing my own project. I'm not going to be releasing it for obvious reasons, but I will show my journey making it. First of all, what is Plok? This is what it is according to Urban Dictionary. Maybe that's not what the developers intended. However, I'm going to choose to define it as a difficult platforming game on the Super Nintendo, made by the Pickford brothers in the UK. It has you firing off parts of your body to defeat enemies, before Rayman, might add, using costumes and vehicles to get different abilities and getting to the end of the level. Later levels have you defeating all the fleas in a level to progress. Oh, did I mention that Plok's soundtrack is absolutely insane? I'm going to be using it throughout this video. I did my own Plok research while working on this. I realised that I wanted to create my own assets for it. After all, the whole point of this is to hone my skills as a developer, and that includes doing art. I also thought it'd be an opportunity to try and do things that couldn't be done at the time, or add a few new bits while being faithful to the original. I came across this promotional material for the game that shows the Plok race started when a wizard named Penkino, I want to say, cast a spell over a magical hat, gloves, boots, and a dog, and it came to life. I'm not really sure if the dog is just background humour and happened to also get zapped, or if that dog is literally zapped out of existence and is now part of Plok. This is like way cool, says the wizard. What I'm not sure about is what the yellow part of Plok's body is. Is it the dog? Has it been squashed into an omelette? Or is it something meta like the yellow Plok text in the centre of the panel? Does Plok have the mind and intellect of a dog? I'm not sure. What it did mean is that it's opened my mind to the possibility of offering alternate costumes, based on different wizard hat and glove combinations. It also means I'll need to be faithful to the default design, because I don't know what that yellow body part is. Oh, and this spell also happens to create fleas, which it does say came from the dog. I also bought the printed webcomics. And the colouring book, to try and see if there would be anything that would spark some ideas. It's a very meta comic book series, but I still feel I found some bits that might help. Oh, and by the way, it's also available for free online. In the comics there's some new characters that appear that could be alternate costumes. There's a few references that I might want to throw in, such as the fact that Plok has cursed hairy hands in one panel, which I love. You also get a lot of behind the scenes things for when they were drawing that panel, what was going through their head. There is one about the hairy hands. The Pickford brothers mentioned at the start of each comic that they originally intended on there being a battery-backed save feature, but the publisher wouldn't go for it because it would cost an extra $1 per cartridge. So hey, maybe I'll add that. What I want to focus on now is getting research from the game itself. So what I found myself doing was jumping into the game lots of times and trying to get placements of things like trees and flowers, testing things like can I somersault if I have no limbs? Now, I know that sounds like a stupid question, but it really was worth testing. How does sliding work? Do I automatically slide when I have no limbs? Yes. Do I still slide with no limbs if I move the directional pad? No. If I hold down, do I fall faster? Does it shorten my jump? Yes. There are so many perfect minute details.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Like the fact that if Plok takes any damage, all his animations change to show heavy breathing. What helped me massively was that the game's manuals have been dumped online. While I've not implemented everything yet, it did expose me to important facts, such as the fact that Plok's parts come back instantly if he hits an enemy. I love this line that says don't fire all his limbs or he'll end up with a pain in the posterior. Really PG. So I recorded parts of the game as I went on. Started by making a bunch of art for Plok. I haven't done all of it yet, but I found that someone had ripped several Plok sprites and put them online, so I had reference material for what kinds of poses I'd need. You can see this interesting bug in the early days. It's a bit of a Plok train going on. Here's getting walking up slopes working, and then crouching. A lot of the animations require me to change a lot of offsets of his body parts, which is a bit finicky, such as when you crouch you need to move the arms down and so on. Here we have limbs firing off and Plok's idle animation. I was inspired by the Sonic the Hedgehog idle animation, and I decided to make it using a bunch of the sprites that I'd already drawn using that sprite sheet. He looks directly at the camera if you leave him long enough. There was this weird offset bug. Added some more art. I really like how the environment looks. The sky was drawn pretty fast and there's definitely room for improvement here. The original is a lot more detailed. Getting sliding to work how I wanted was a bit of a challenge. I first tried the lazy normal approach for me, which was to change the physics material to make Plok slippier, but it wasn't fast enough sliding, so I messed with gravity and mass changes until I decided that I should do this properly. Doing it properly meant calculating the slope's angle and applying a force down the hill. I'm glad I did this because it's so much better and so much more configurable. Here we have a pretty cool infinite limb bug. I did the jump animation at some point, and for some reason I had it in my head, even after looking at the game, that his feet went in different directions, which was a pain for me to sort out. And then after I did it, I went and played the game again and realised that I was completely wrong, and his feet always point the direction that he's facing. So yeah, that was annoying, and it's still there at the minute. Here I did the somersault. It's just an image that goes in front of Plok right now. It does change his jump stats, but his body is completely behind that image. My first attempt at drawing and adding shells was pretty awful. Working on these slopes was also difficult, getting them to match up with each sprite for tiling. And in the original game they come down a lot lower, so I think I might go and add a bunch of details into the ground to make it less plain. Sorry Plok community, I decided to redesign the sprouts. I only found out they were called that from the game manual that I found online, but I didn't really know what these were, and I didn't know what the body was meant to be, so I didn't know how to make a more detailed sprite of it. So instead I just took the name Sprout and tried to make a more vegetable-ass looking thing, and tried to use some of the original colours. My first design was this cute little creature, and I added lots of flourish to its animations, so there's things like its leaves will spin when it's flying, and there's like animations for it crouching and landing and that kind of stuff. What I didn't realise that I'd done is make a huge mistake, and I've learned a big lesson from it that I can apply to future games. I think my old projects had this problem as well, but inconsistent pixel sizes. I drew my enemy too small compared to Plok. Simple enough. Enlarge it in Unity or scale the sprite up. Well, this changes the pixel sizes, and it makes it look awful when you have thicker outlines and things. So you might think you can just scale it up and fix the outline, but then your detail is also too simplistic for the size, and the shape gets messed up. So I had to redesign it after doing all of those animations and redo it all. I also made a similar mistake on the environment, but fortunately it just turned out to be that I'd got weird scaling on my grid and I could fix that. So that saved me some work. Using my new method for pixel scaling, which was to put Plok into the same piece of art that I was drawing so I could use them as a reference, I created a bunch of tree sprites. These were the largest sprites I'd done so far. I briefly messed around with post-processing. There are later levels in the game where you play as Grandpappy, and it's in this kind of old-timey looking filter. I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't have to redraw sprites in different colours, so I got that working and checked that the UI could also be changed. Here's the larger version of the sprouts. You can see I lengthened the pixel issue by drawing it next to the player. I also added a camera block around this time. It prevents the camera going further than the end of the level, and this means that on wider displays you're not going to see further than you should. You can see the difference here on ultra wide versus 1080p, and it doesn't show you further than you should see, like it does in Hoist. Here are the new shells. I really like how these look. They simply get deleted. Later on I go and add some little effects when you pick them up, but that's pretty much it for now. Here's the new sprouts moving. Took me a while to get jumping how I wanted. Originally they'd flutter up, but I wanted snappier jumps, just like the original game, while retaining the leaf spinning animation, so a lot of tweaking animation speeds and jump height, etc. Logs gave me a lot of issues. Eventually I got them working by making them look at the slope angle, and then the rigid bodies move the position each step. And then I got flag animation working. At the minute it just resets the level when the flag goes to the top. There are still things that need to be done for this first level, such as the secret exit, taking damage, scoring lives, all that kind of stuff. But I feel comfortable sharing this project now. So any feedback would be appreciated. Thanks for watching.